and whose shoulder I cried on after Big Rich, another teacher at our school, was seriously injured in a car accident. On this particular day, we were discussing my plans for the future. You know, Larry, I think you'd be a really great teacher. Being the humble and mature adult that I was at the time, I responded in the best possible way. I don't think so. I'm going to be something important. About 4 years later, I was entering my junior year at Florida State University, and I still wanted to be somebody important. But I also realized that all of the important somebodies in my life were the people that directly helped me get where I was at that time. Had it not been for the conversations with Ms. McEwen, I never would have stepped foot on FSU's campus. I would never have received a degree in political science, which I use daily in my geometry classroom. And I would never have realized that the important somebodies are the people that make lasting differences in the lives of those around them. As I was finishing my time at the Institute, I thought back to my years in school, and I wrote a heartfelt, humble, and incredibly embarrassing email that started out, "Dear Ms. McEwen, thank you for helping me become somebody important, and also for not punching me in the face."
Hi. I joined the movement because one day, not the one day that you're thinking about, one day my husband convinced me to apply to TFA. We both lived in New York City and worked in finance. My husband, with his never-ending passion for change, had just finished reading the books Relentless Pursuit and One Day Old Children. I had just received a promotion in my job. After reading my husband's acceptance letter to TFA and much debate, he persuaded me. So we both quit our jobs in finance and chose New Orleans to be our new destination. I had also selected early childhood and elementary education. I was convinced that high school would drain my optimism much more quickly, and that as a beginner teacher, I was not sure if I was going to have an impact at that level.
I always assumed that I'd be a lawyer. And obviously, I descended through the legal ranks with my voice. And became a judge. I was going to be a dynamic lawyer with a killer instinct for cross-examination and how the gavel of justice with decisive force. I could never be convinced that instead of a killer instinct with double strategies, your hugs with not really decisive force. I could never be convinced that 5 years ago, I would go from never missing an episode of Law and Order and reading case briefings to never missing a day of school in 2 years and reading father's books. I, like many of you, never imagined I'd be in the classroom, yet here I am. I'm here because, in the back of my mind, I knew that I had a great responsibility. A responsibility to pass and on a tool that changes and saves the lives of children across the country. A tool that provides hope and extends life expectancies. A tool that combats social injustice. A tool that is very necessary. I have a responsibility to provide children with a quality education.
When I walked out of my first day teaching at Institute at King Middle, I was fairly convinced that I had single-handedly been the cause of the achievement gap. I wasn't entirely sure how, but I knew that I had somehow retroactively ruined education in the entire country. And one day, 2 months later, I stepped into my classroom at South Blackburn High School, and I was feeling a little bit more confident in my abilities to have a lasting impact on my students and make them gurus at all things geometry. And then I met Haley. Haley came into my class having already repeated algebra once and was way behind where a student in geometry needs to be. She was very quiet in class and had extreme test anxiety. She had no confidence to speak of. She was quick to get lost and tough to bring out. But I knew that I was going to make her successful. That first year flew by. We had our successes and our failures. I was swamped and dealing with the realities of being a first-year teacher and, of course, PTP. Finally, we got our EOC scores back. I was so excited. 94% of my students had passed. Then, I had talked to Haley. She had failed the EOC and my class. I was going to have to see her next year. But this time was going to be different. I had a plan for Haley. I knew what I was going to do. I was actually going to catch this girl up. My second year was Haley's senior year. She only needed a few more credits to graduate, my class being one of them. At the end of the year, I was frantically hitting refresh to see if the EOC scores had been posted and to revel in our success. Friday, at 2:45, we received the information that we've been anticipating for an entire year. Needs improvement. She had failed. I had failed. I may not have actually caused the achievement gap on that first day in Atlanta, but for Haley, I didn't do enough to close it.
3 months forward, I'm at the Institute teaching math to third graders. Beautiful, this isn't so bad. Fast forward, I get back to New Orleans and I end up teaching high school Spanish. I'm standing, looking up to Sandy Shobar, 6'4", 245 pounds. Niñito, siéntate, me enloqueces. Yes, high school Spanish. And then I got it. I saw my kids going through the same experience I had. Like me, they were caught up in a struggle to achieve high academic excellence. When I moved from Colombia to the United States at the age of 16, I was determined to reach my definition of the American dream. My parents were committed to my learning of English and to getting me to college. My Algebra 1A ESL teacher, Mr. Murphy, moved me from Algebra 1A, 1B, geometry honors, Algebra 2 in 1 week. He realized that I had all of the academic ability, but now the English skills necessary to be at a high level. Once he saw my potential, other teachers saw it as well. After 3 months, I was no longer an ESL student, and my new honors teachers talk about ACT prep and college. But back in my classroom, with my own students, that story was different. They had a strong support system and a forward-thinking school setting to be driven to the next level. I had to become the Mr. Murphy to all of my kids. I had to be able to move my kids to the next level.
Stepping into the classroom for the first time during the Institute was nothing short of perplexing. As I looked at a carpet full of 4-year-olds, my first thoughts were, what are they? This doesn't look like a middle school social studies class, and why me? These thoughts were quickly erased though, as I began to realize just how much of an impact my work with these young adults can have. After leaving the Institute, I was ready to enter my classroom with a completely different mindset. I knew that I had the unique responsibility and opportunity to give my students the educational foundation necessary to close the achievement gap. It would be great readers, great young orators, and you would leave kindergarten with the tools necessary for future educational success. If I honed my craft, worked relentlessly, maintained high expectations, and pushed academic rigor, then surely my students would surpass their more fluent counterparts. Yet, after teaching in New Orleans for 2 years, I've come to learn that mindsets aren't enough. Being a teacher isn't enough. My students have become great readers and great young orators like I hoped, yet in some respects, I have failed them. I need to do more than just catch them up academically. I now understand that in order for my students, who enter my classroom already years behind social, emotionally, and academically, that I must be more than a teacher. For my 5- and 6-year-olds who already enter kindergarten with deep emotional scars, I must be a mentor, a social worker, a parent, a father figure, a family service coordinator, and a teacher. If I really want to see the life expectancies of my students truly change, I must be whoever my students need me to be. They need me in the classroom.
Thanks entirely to the amazingly low standards of our state, Haley's failing EOC score was still high enough for her to pass my class. Her scores netted her a D for an EOC grade, and she was thus able to pass. She will graduate, but not the way we wanted. After 2 years with the same student, I was still unable to get her to where she needed to be to pass this test and in reality pass my class. After many discussions about her future, her recent pregnancy, and her plans for nursing school, this news was devastating for the both of us. I know there are Haleys in classrooms all over the city, and the next year I will likely have a few more. But this time, I will not fail them. My long-term plans of leaving New Orleans, starting a new career, and making a lot of money have changed drastically from the day that I first stepped foot on Tulane's campus. My idea of being someone important has changed entirely. I realize now that I am someone important because no matter how much I act like it's not true sometimes, all of my students are truly important someones to me. No matter how much Trevor's apathy towards his education gets to me, or how much Mason or Sam's constant absence is annoying me, how much Riara's personal struggles tear at me, or Dylan's attitude bother me, they are still all important to me. It's because of these 6 students, the 6 students who did not pass my EOC, and probably not my class, that I decided to stay in the classroom. I joined Teach for America to be a part of the movement, and I see now the impact that I can have. I don't want to just jump out just as I'm getting into my own rhythm. It's been 8 years since Ms. McEwen told me that she thought that I would be a great teacher. I'm definitely not there yet, but I will be, because my students need me to be someone important.
I tell you about Standish, the 6'4", 245-pound story. He's 1 in 1,000. He's a junior, and this year he's already received 13 offer letters from top schools around the country. He already committed to the University of Miami and will be the top offense recruit of their 2013 freshman class. That is not the same story for the rest of my 214 juniors. 98% of them don't have the same support networks as Standish. So, what will it take now that I'm finished with my TFA commitment? My contribution is going to go 2 different ways. First, I am transitioning into a role outside of the classroom. In my new role, I'm going to create 2 community programs in the next year that will foster the environment for parents and families to take active role in the support of our children. I'm joining the 86% of the general public that believes that support from parents is the most important way to improve schools. With that in mind, I also joined Aliyah and Grace to be entrepreneurs in a venture dedicated to accelerate parent engagement. That is our response and way to give back to fellow educators and students. Though I'm leaving the classroom, I'm now leaving my understanding of what it is that really happens in the classroom and in the schools that holds back the success of our students. I'm leading and making an impact to solve what I believe is the most relevant problem and what will improve the education opportunities for all in this country.
While I've had the privilege of seeing the achievement gap being closed, I've also had the realization that there's so much more that we need to do. It takes a network of deeply passionate and courageous individuals to truly make an impact in closing the achievement gap. I must continue to be one of these individuals. I must be a leader in the classroom, the school, and the community. I must use my skills that I've gained to help other teachers develop. I must begin to be a leader in my school to see that our mission is fulfilled every day. I must use education as a pathway to be a more active member of my community so that school brawls and murder students aren't a routine piece of the news cycle. Whether working over the summers, constantly reflecting on every lesson, developing teachers, starting a school my own one day, I will continue to do what it takes to see that every student who crosses my path will truly have the opportunity to reach their full potential and exceed the expectations that the zip codes dictate. It is my responsibility and my calling to mold the future leaders that will one day grace the Oval Office, classrooms, courtrooms, boardrooms, and one day even the seats in this auditorium. There's no work more important. There's no need more pressing. There's no other place for me, and I will stop at nothing to be the teacher and the leader that my students need me to be.